Hey everybody, Rosebutter here, and welcome to part 6 of my Corpse Party Book of Shadows Let's Play. In the last episode, we ended the second chapter quite violently with the tragic death of Nana and Mayu, both pretty horrific, and then just slipped back into happy times, for now at least, as we are now playing as Miss Yui, and kind of going back in time to when she was a senior in high school and training to become a teacher. But the end of the episode had her have a weird encounter with an old lady trying to stop her from going to school, telling her she mustn't go to Heavenly Host. And that's really interesting that that's coming up again. And that's like, who is this lady? How does she know who Miss Yui is? All that stuff. So we're going to continue on and see if we can get some answers to that. After school, once my final practice interview had concluded, I reunited with my friends and engaged in the usual regimen of gossip and small talk. When I described the events of that morning, everyone's eyebrows rose. They were hanging on to my every word and yelping in unison at key moments.
Yui, 今日は家でおとなしくしておけばよかったんじゃない？だって今日は面接の最後の練習があるからどうしても来たかったし。
何か起きないといいけど。
やだ、やめてよ、何も起きないって。
So you never want to say that.
思い出した。え？天神症って言葉がちょっと引っかかってたんだけどさ、七不思議に出てくるんだよね、天神症。
七不思議って、うちの学校に伝わる如月学園七不思議のこと？
そうそう。
7? Wow, it's just like, what kind of school is it where there's, I'm guessing 7 wonders means there's 7 urban legends just about one high school?
天神症って何？放課後のよしえさんって言うんだけど、聞いたことない？
Yoshi after school, huh?
知らない。
私も知らないよ。どんな話なの？
如月学園が建てられる前にこの場所にあった天神小学校での話なんだけどさ。その天神小学校で放課後校舎の見回りをしていた女の先生が誤って階段から落ちて死んだんだって。その日は10月のちょうど今日みたいに雨が降る放課後で、時刻はそう夜の7時を過ぎたあたり、こういう日はよしえさんが出るんだって。天神小学校がなくなってしまったことに気づいていないよしえさんは如月学園の廊下を見回って歩いているんだよ。
やだ、それ本当？
まあ実際見たことがある人がいるから七不思議になってるんじゃない？
怖。ゆい、今日はもう帰ったら？そのおばあさんの言ってたことちょっと気になるし。ゆいだけ道が違うから一緒に帰れないじゃない？
だね。お年寄りの忠告は聞いておくもんだよ。
Yes, well, I feel like a little bit too late for that.
そうだね。なんかゾワゾワしてきちゃったし、もう帰ろうかな。
Except now it's like she's gonna be walking home by herself.
それじゃあ先に帰るね。バイバイ。バイバイ。気をつけてね。
We obviously know that Yue is fine because she survives past this point, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
明日ファイトだよ。
私は慌てて荷物をまとめ教室を飛び出した。
I quickly packed up my things and rushed out of the classroom.
時刻は夕方5時になるところ。外は薄暗くなってきているけれど、階段の7時までにはまだまだ余裕があった。
It was already about 5. It was getting dark out, but if Kana's story was to be believed, I had until around 7 before anything bad might happen.
だから怖がる必要なんてない。と、そう自分に言い聞かせて廊下を進む。
As I continued wending my way down the corridor, I just kept telling myself there's nothing to be afraid of.
それでも、下駄箱にたどり着くまでの時間がやけに長く感じられた。
Even so, it felt like it took an extra long time to reach the shoe lockers.
あー、ダメだ。やっぱり怖い。
お、よう、シシド。
司
今帰りか？
Maybe he'll walk her home. Or maybe he's the thing that she's got to be
そ
worried
の
about.
満面の笑みは。
くん。なんでもない。ねえ、途中まで一緒に帰ろうよ。
ああ、いいけど。
やった。司くんの顔を見たら一瞬だけだけど怖かったのが吹き飛んだ。こういう時男の子ってすごく頼りになるなって思う。
Or maybe something happened to Tsukasa after this and she blames herself. Maybe she's like, I got him involved in things when it should have just been me. Something obviously happened to him because she's still thinking about him years later. When I looked at Tsukasa's face, my fear vanished, if but for a moment. These are the times when it's really nice to have boys around, I thought.
そばにいてくれたら心強いなって無条件に思わせてくれるから。
I felt that as long as he was by my side, nothing bad could happen.
もちろんそれが気になってる人ならなおさら。
It didn't hurt that I had a crush on him, of course.
雨は朝よりも弱まっていた。その中を私たちは傘を差しながら歩く。
The rain had let up since this morning, though it was still coming down. The two of us walked side by side, umbrellas held high.
司くんとはたわいもない話でそこそこ笑ったりもしたけど、でも私はどこかぎこちなかったかもしれない。
Tsukasa was talking and laughing excitedly the whole time, whereas I probably came off as preoccupied. I'm sure it was awkward.
得体の知れない恐怖みたいなものがちらついて、いつもみたいに振る舞えている自信はなかった。
A vague sense of fear flickered inside me, and it was making me extraordinarily self-conscious. I'm certain it must have been reflected in my behavior.
シシド？なんかお前、顔色悪いぞ。どうかした？
ああ、
おい。
実は怖いことがあって。
怖いこと？
私の様子があまりにおかしかったのか、司くんは心なしか表情をこわばらせて私を見つめた。
I probably seemed really on edge. Tsukasa was staring at me with this look of abject concern on his face.
真剣に話を聞いてくれようとしているのが分かって、私はちょっと嬉しくなる。
I was a little relieved that he'd asked, though, and it felt good to tell him about what happened.
今抱えている恐怖をできることなら司くんと共有したかった。だから私は今朝会ったこととカンナから聞いた怪談話を司くんに話した。
I filled him in on all the details and explained how they related to Kana's ghost story. I did my absolute best to convey the dread I was feeling.
だけど司くんは。
But Tsukasa was, well...
はあ。七不思議ね。七不思議を信じるなんて夢があっていいな。
え？
ん？
司くんは怖くないの？
怖いっていうか妙だとは思うけどな。でもその謎のばあちゃんと七不思議なんて単なる偶然だろう。気にしすぎだって。
でも
あんま深く考えない方がいいんじゃね？そのばあちゃんは確かに気味悪いけどさ、ちょっと変わった人だっただけだろ。
そういうんじゃなくて。
え？
Oh, how do you explain the thing that she had a charm with her name written on it, knew what school she was going to, and it just, the whole thing is weird. I guess it's like if you only hear about it secondhand, it doesn't sound as weird as it does when you experience it.
解決方法を教えてほしかったわけじゃないよ。私は話を聞いてほしかっただけなの。
話なら聞いたじゃんか。
だからそうじゃなくて。
はあ、わかんねえよ。なんか怒ってんのか？
Oh my gosh, it's almost like she's, without even being at Heavenly Host, she's darkening and pushing people away.
男の子ってこういう考え方をする。
Guys always do this.
人によるのかもしれないけど、でも女子とは違ってすぐにこうすればいいじゃんって解決法を提示しちゃうのだ。
It varies from person to person, of course, but guys invariably jump right into looking for solutions to your problem or giving you advice on what to do.
結果、女子は言いたいことが言えなくて消化不良になってしまう。
As a result, girls often can't be totally honest with them, or don't want to be at any rate, and are forced just to bottle up their feelings. That's a little bit of a generalization. I gotta say, my husband is very good at knowing when I want him to actually help me with a problem if I'm ranting, or if he knows that I just want to vent for the sake of venting and just listen.
私は司くんと恐怖を共有したかっただけ。司くんが一緒に怖がってくれればそれでよかったのに。
I only wanted Tsukasa to share in some of my fears. If he were scared with me, that would have been enough.
この時の私は気にするなって言葉が司くんの気遣いだとわからなかった。めんどくさいのかなってむくれてしまったのだ。
I didn't realize that Tsukasa telling me not to worry was his way of showing concern. I just thought he was brushing me off, and frankly, that annoyed me.
朝に見たおばあさんの顔が、目が、しわがれた声が何度も頭の中でフラッシュバックする。
My mind flashed back over and over again to the face, the eyes, and the hoarse voice of that old woman.
それが怪談話で増幅されて、じわじわと私の気持ちを暗くした。
Amplified and distorted by the ghost story, these images gradually darkened my mood.
あんなに怖い思いをしたんだからっていう甘えや八つ当たりの気持ちもあったんだと思う。
Maybe I was traumatized by the events I'd experienced, or maybe I was just frustrated and needed to lash out. I don't know.
私と司くんはこの時初めて気まずい雰囲気になった。
But for the first time ever, things had become decidedly uncomfortable between the two of us.
それじゃ、私こっちだから。
ああ。獅子堂。
He called out my name as I briskly walked away. I didn't really know why I was so angry or confused, but I did notice his voice was tinged with concern.
なんかあったら連絡しろよ。
I considered turning back for a second, but changed my mind and pushed forward in a huff, leaving him behind. Ugh. It's so frustrating to watch. I've definitely done that before, where I've been in a situation where I've been upset and just kind of brush people off and then realize after. And the thing is, like, you get too deep into it, where it's like you get to a point where you've already like gone past a point where you are frustrated, and it almost feels like you can't turn around and apologize, even though that would just be the right thing to do. Be like, hey, sorry, I'm being a little bitchy, for lack of a better word. I'm just not feeling great right now, but I appreciate what you're saying. I'm not mad at you, I'm just mad at the situation. But sometimes it's just like, I don't know, it almost feels like by acknowledging or apologizing, it's almost like somehow you lose. I'm not like this very much anymore. I used to be really bad for that and really stubborn. And I have a feeling that after this, he's gonna disappear and she'll never get the chance to like apologize or try and make things right with him. And then that's maybe why he's still in her mind, is she regrets that.
ただいま。ゆい。おかえり。
Greeting me at the door, my mother wore a somber expression. Did the woman die or something? I could tell right away something had happened. I stared at her with scrunched eyebrows for an awkwardly long time before she eventually, reluctantly, opened her mouth to speak.
今朝のおばあさん。
Yeah, she did.
さっき亡くなったって病院から連絡があったわ。嘘。残念なことだけど、あなたは明日の推薦入試のことだけ考えていなさい。それじゃあのおばあさんの話はこれで終わり。さあ、ご飯にするから着替えておいで。わかった。それじゃあ私部屋にいるから。ええ。お母さんがキッチンへと引っ込んでいくのを見届けて、私はもぞもぞと靴を脱いだ。
I watched my mom.
気持ちは一層重くなっている。
I watched my mom work her way back to the kitchen, then wriggled out of my shoes. My mood had darkened even more.
司くんにあんな態度をとってしまっただけでも嫌な気分だったのに、あのおばあちゃんが亡くなってしまっただなんて。
Tsukas's attitude was bad enough, but for that old woman to have died. Returning to my room, I couldn't muster the energy to do anything but collapse into my chair and sprawl out on the desk. The last thing the old woman had said to me echoed again and again in my mind. I began wishing I had taken her more seriously. I should have accepted the paper doll and thanked her. I should have reassured her I wouldn't go to Heavenly Host Elementary. I mean, the place doesn't even exist anymore, for goodness sake. I was exhausted. It was a hell of a day, and I no longer even had the energy to move. I needed to change out of my school clothes, but still sprawled out over the desk, my eyelids drooped and closed. I was out. I woke with a start. The air in my room had gotten notably cooler and I was shivering.
寝ちゃった。
Rubbing my eyes, I glanced at my clock. The needle indicated it was 6:45.
もうこんな時間。
It was black outside my window, streaked with lines from the still pouring rain.
明日は晴れるといいんだけど。
Sunny for my exam. The weight of what the next day held for me came rushing into my mind. I'd practiced the interview process with my teachers quite thoroughly, but I was still really
そう
nervous.
だ。明日の用意しておかなくっちゃ。
There was still a little time before dinner. My mind swimming, I decided I'd take this opportunity to clean out all the notes and textbooks I wouldn't need tomorrow from my bag.
残しておくものは学生証でしょ。それからハンカチとティッシュ、受験票も忘れずに入れて、それからペンケース。あれ？嘘！ペンケースがない！学校に忘れてきちゃった。
Oh no, she's gonna go back to school.
さーっと
And it'll be
血の
around
気が引いた。
7. My face suddenly went pale. It's got the pencil, right? It's got the pencil that Tsukasa gave her.
別に筆記用具で困ったわけじゃない。家にはいくらでも代わりがある。
Would she not be able to grab it the next day? Really, I shouldn't have been too concerned over writing implements. We had tons at
だけ
home.
ど、あの中には司くんから借りた受験必勝鉛筆が入っているのだ。
But that case held the pencil that Tsukasa had given me for guaranteed success on my exam.
取ってこなくちゃ。
Oh my gosh, girl, you're going back to the school at around 7 on an October day. No, no,
お
no.
母さん、私ちょっと学校に忘れ物取りに行ってくる。
え？もうすぐご飯できるわよ。
すぐ戻るから。
そう。雨も降っているし、気をつけていくのよ。
あの鉛筆は絶対に明日試験会場へ持っていかなければならないものの一つだった。だから私は迷うことなく学校に戻る道を選んだ。
That pencil was the one thing I absolutely needed to bring with me to the test, and so without hesitation I ran back down the road to school.
降りしきる雨の中、足元に気を配りながら全速力で走る。走っている間、ちらりと頭をよぎるのは起きた時の時間だった。
I was sprinting as close to full speed as I could get without slipping in the downpour. All the while, the numbers on my bedroom clock ran through my mind.
6時45分。七不思議で語られていた時間は夜の7時。
6:45, and if Kana's story was to be believed, Yoshi haunted the school building at 7.
校門前に着いて真っ先に時間を確認した。校舎についている大時計が指し示す時間は6時55分。
As soon as I arrived at the gate, I glanced up at the large clock adorning the schoolhouse. It was now 6:55.
放課後の吉江さんの怪談話が再び頭をよぎる。
Yoshi after school. I went over the whole scenario in my head again, as best as I could recall it.
10月。雨が降る放課後。夜7時。
After classes, on a rainy day in October, 7 at night.
あのおばあちゃん、もしかしてこうなるのが分かっていて。
That old woman somehow know this would happen, and you drop the charm that you don't even have, and we know that charms in this game are imperative to have.
やだな、もう階段なんてあんなの作り話だって。こみ上げてくる恐怖を抑えつけるために声を出して自分を叱咤する。
I was talking to myself, reprimanding myself in an effort to quell the fear that was welling up in the pit of my stomach.
見上げた校舎に人影はない。こんな時間なら生徒はもう帰宅しているだろうし、先生だってどれくらい残っているのか。
There wasn't a soul to be seen on the grounds. By this time, the students had all gone home. I wondered if any teachers were still around. Yet the school is completely lit up. It's weird, yeah, the idea of anyone being at a school after, like, 6 o'clock, when even the clubs have probably gone home.
けれど、廊下の電気はまだすべてついていた。あれだけ明るければ、そこまで怖い思いをしなくても教室まで行けるだろう。
Fortunately, the lights were all still on, and it was bright enough I felt confident I could make it to the classroom without freaking out.
よし、パッと行ってパッと済ましちゃおう。
Ooh, now the lights are all off. I folded up my soaked umbrella and left it on the rack by the entrance, then changed into my indoor shoes. Okay, lights are on there. Then entering the brightly lit hall, I took another look around. I guess the lights are going to start like flickering at 7. Lights are going to go off.
やっぱり生徒は誰も残ってないみたい。
My deep sigh echoed through the deathly silent corridor. Ordinarily, the din of other students would drown out noises like this, but every little sound was coming through crystal clear at this late hour.
急がなくちゃ。もうすぐ7時だ。
I nervously sauntered toward classroom 3-4, picking up speed as it occurred to me to do so.
今朝のおばあさんね。さっき亡くなったみたい。
その天神小学校で放課後校舎の見回りをしていた女の先生が誤って階段から落ちて死んだんだって。その日は10月のちょうど今日みたいに雨が降る放課後で、時刻はそう夜の7時を過ぎたあたり。こういう日はよしえさんが出るんだって。天神小学校がなくなってしまったことに気づいていないよしえさんは如月学園の廊下を見回って歩いているんだよ。もう何考えてるのよ私。七不思議なんて司くんも言ってたじゃない。深く考えない方がいいって。
Geez, what the hell is wrong with me? Why am I letting this bother me so much? Tsukasa was right. I shouldn't dwell on this. Lightning flashed and thunder resounded with impeccable timing. I jumped in spite of myself.
とにかくパッと教室に行ってペンケース取ってこなくちゃ。
No ghost should show up in a well-lit building like this, right? And even if they did, they wouldn't be very scary under all these bright lights.
あのペンケースに入ってる鉛筆は明日の試験にどうしても必要なの。
I absolutely need that pencil for tomorrow's test.
だってあれは司くんがくれたお守りなんだもの。
My good luck charm after all, and it's from Tsukasa. I picked up the pace as I continued to head straight for room 3-4. Oh, okay. Is that just the old lady? I hate that. Don't like it. Don't like that.
弓道部の方はもう真っ暗だな。やっぱり誰もいないのね。
The middle school is already pitch black. I guess there really is no one else around right now.
それにしても今日はいつもよりこの廊下が長い感じがする。ただでさえこの廊下で遅刻しそうになるくらいなのに。
And this hallway feels longer today than it ever has before. Was it always like this? I can't imagine I'd ever be on time if it were. Did they just leave the classroom doors open? Even after everybody's left? I continued my brisk walk down the impossibly long hallway toward my goal, jumping every now and again whenever another thunderclap sounded. Hisaragi Academy was comprised of both a middle school and a high school, and this evening it really felt like it was flaunting its massive size. It didn't help my classroom was in the high school wing, which happened to be past the middle school, making it seem that much farther away.
いつもは賑やかな場所がこんなにも静まり返っていると余計に物寂しい気がするな。
When a building that's usually so full of life goes completely quiet, it becomes such a lonely place.
雨の音がやけに大きく聞こえるよ。
I swear I can hear every drop of rain. I was focusing on the scant few sounds around me as I paced down that long, lonely corridor. Then, all of a sudden... What? I heard a faint noise, as if someone playing an organ.
今の空耳だよね。そうに決まってるよ。こんな時間に音楽室で楽器を鳴らす人なんているわけないし。
Took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. It was probably the sounds of the rain, wind, and thunder mixing together. It just sounded like an organ, that's all. I was convinced. I kept walking. But then... I heard the same noise again, this time much more clearly. It was unmistakable.
嘘。やだ。
Did that happen in Heavenly Host? I think it was a piano. I don't think it was an organ, where the piano was playing by itself. I was paralyzed with fear. My heart was pounding as if it were struggling to break free of someone's sinister grip.
きっとまだ吹奏楽部の子とか先生が残って弾いてるんだよね。そうだ、そうに決まってるよ。
It's probably just a devoted member of the band or teacher who's working late. I'm just being stupid. Thinking about it, I vaguely recalled someone mentioning an upcoming performance by the Wind Instrument Club. I guess an organ would qualify. Somebody must have just stayed late to practice, that's all.
なんでもかんでも怖い話に直結させちゃいけないな。
I took another deep breath and tried, again, to calm my overly jittery nerves.
怖いと思ったら何でも怖く思えるものだよね。
Anything can be scary if you think it is. I'd heard that if you let your imagination run too wild, fear can even make you see things that aren't there. And my imagination was most definitely running wild.
あとちょっとで教室だから走っていこう。
I'm almost there. I might as well sprint the rest of the way. I decided to dash toward my classroom so I could get out of this hall as quickly as possible. Finally reaching that familiar door, I swiftly opened it and flicked on the lights.
やっとたどり着いた。あとはペンケースを忘れないようにしなくちゃ。
Thanks to all my unexpected pauses to freak out over thunder and lightning, it took me far longer than it should have to get here. It was already well past 7.
7時か。
7 o'clock, huh? It was the appointed time when the ghost of a teacher was supposed to appear, at least according to the school legend.
何もないじゃない。
I let out a sigh of relief and relaxed my shoulders a bit. The lights were on both inside the classroom and out in the hallway. Sure, it was still dead silent, but the fear I'd been feeling had completely melted away.
全然怖くないよ。やっぱり七不思議だなんて嘘だったんだな。
Yeah, there's nothing to be afraid of. The 7 wonders aren't real. I grabbed the pen case I'd come back for and shoved it into my pocket.
よし、これで任務完了だね。
Okay, I'm trying to remember. The original corpse party, how did Miss Yui end up in Heavenly Host? I don't think she took part. Did she take part in the Sachiko Ever After charm or no? Because, like, if all this had happened to her, I don't see her doing something like this or warning the kids, like, hey, don't fuck around with stuff like that. With my long ordeal behind me, more or less, I looked around the classroom and let out another sigh. I'd only ever known this classroom when it was bustling with activity, and thus found its eerie silence and utter stillness to be oddly fascinating.
教室に私一人ってなんだか不思議な感じがするな。
Such a strange feeling being alone in a classroom like this. I got the idea in my head to try doing something I normally wouldn't be able to, like standing at the teacher's podium and writing on the blackboard.
こんなシチュエーションめったにないし。
Chances like this don't come around too often after all. Oh, Yui, what are you doing? It's making me think of Heavenly Host when there was all that stuff written on the blackboard. I feel like you'd almost be summoning a ghost doing this. To me, the area behind the podium from which teachers conduct their lessons was like a sacred space. I dreamed of standing there myself one day and could hardly resist its pull when presented with a rare opportunity like this.
今なら誰も見てないし。
Well, no one's looking. To my classmates, this would seem like such a silly, stupid dilemma, but that didn't change the way I felt at that moment.
どうしようかな。
Should I or shouldn't I? Oh, I have a choice. Well, let's go save, as always. I didn't think this would be a chapter where I would actually have any choices, so I feel like standing at the teacher's podium might give me a bad ending, and I'm gonna try and go for a bad end before I go for a good end. So let's stand at the teacher's podium.
よし、少しだけ先生の気分を味わっちゃえ。
How can I pass this up? It's a chance to feel like a real teacher. I decided I had to try it. During daily cleanup and such, I'd come and gone from the spot countless times. I feel almost like by standing at because the ghost is a teacher, right? Like maybe by them thinking that I'm a teacher, maybe they'll not, if they show up, maybe they won't kill me. Or maybe they're going to be like, what are you doing? Maybe this was the classroom that the teacher had, and they're like, what are you doing in my classroom? This was the first time I'd ever had an opportunity to just stand here and preside over the classroom.
そうか。先生からはこんな風に見えるんだ。教室って。
So this is how it looks to a teacher, huh?
なんかちょっとドキドキする。
It's kind of awe-inspiring. Gaining a teacher's point of view in the most literal sense was starting to get me really fired up. It may seem silly now, but this was my stage. This was where all my dreams would play out.
私もいつか
I began to imagine the future that awaited me, painstakingly detailing some new piece of knowledge for students sitting attentively at their desks. Gliding chalk across the board, filling it with information to aid them in their
い
studies.
つか先生になれるといいな。
Oh, there's the organ! There's the organ! I was getting so excited that even I began to think my behavior was a little strange. Maybe it was the juxtaposition of those joyous, freeing visions and the prickling dread I'd been feeling up until just a minute or two before. That's so creepy. It's got like the nice music in the background, but then you can just hear the organ getting louder and louder. But then in the blink of an eye, one of those two conflicting emotions completely overpowered the other. Oh, just like I thought, the power went out. Because we all know that ghosts only show up in dark places, so when the light is out, you're fucked. Suddenly, my surroundings were bathed in darkness. Going stiff with shock, I stumbled back a step. My back struck the blackboard with a dull thud.
いきなり何
What awful timing. There's the organ. I instinctively grabbed hold of the rail where the eraser sat. I felt chalk dust against my fingertips. My panicked heartbeat was making it difficult to breathe. Was this caused by the thunderstorm? If so, it sure picked a fine time to turn the lights out on me.
しかもオルガンの音まだ響いてる嘘なんで停電になってるならオルガンだって鳴らないはずなのに
And what's more, I can still hear the sound of the organ. But no, it's an electric organ. How is that even possible with no power? Was this what the old woman was trying to warn me about? That's impossible. She was no fortune teller or psychic, as far as I was aware. How could she possibly have known this would happen? Hell, even if she were a fortune teller or a psychic, predicting the future is the stuff of science fiction. I shook my head.
落ち着くのよ私音楽室の方はまだ停電になってないとかきっとそんな理由だよ
I need to calm down. Maybe it's just this wing that lost power, and the music room is still okay. That seems plausible, right? I curled my chalk-dusted fingers into a fist and silently tried to talk some sense into myself.
ともかく早く校舎を出よう
I shouldn't have been playing teacher. I should have been in and out by now. Cursing myself a little, I fumbled my way through the darkened classroom. I'd spent so much time in here, you'd think I'd be able to find my way out of it with my eyes closed, as it were. But sadly, that wasn't the case. Smashing loudly into a desk, I knocked it on its side and began tumbling after it, instinctively grabbing at other desks around me for support.
いっといけない机の中身まき散らしちゃったよ
And damn it, it sounds like I knocked a lot of stuff out of that desk.
元に戻さなくちゃ
Even when she's afraid for her life, she's still studious enough to be like, I gotta clean up after myself. Still fumbling around blindly, I gathered up all the scattered notes, textbooks, and writing utensils.
でも暗くて何がなんだかもう何やってるのよ急いでるのに本当にドジなんだから
Oh, I can't tell what's what. This is so embarrassing. What the heck am I doing anyway? Wasn't I supposed to be hurrying home? I'm such a klutz. I let out a sigh. I seemed to be doing that a lot lately.
これは教科書とノートでしょ
I was trying to take inventory of all the things I'd knocked out of the desk, then realized why. I might as well just stand it up and stuff it all back in.
さすがに全部を間違いなく元に戻すのは無理だな明日ここの席の子に謝らなくちゃ
Not that that was a particularly pleasant prospect. Explaining what I'd done wouldn't be easy, and no matter how much I sugarcoated it, it would serve as a clear indication of my clumsiness. I think that's the last thing you need to worry about right now, if you even make it to the next day. If I didn't say anything, it's not like I'd be found out, but that would be the same as lying, as far as I'm concerned, and I couldn't do that.
これで最後かな
I placed my hand against the floor and swept it around, feeling for anything I might have missed. And I found something all right. Uh-oh. Oh, that doesn't sound nice.
これなんだかぬるぬるして
I clearly brushed my fingers against something, but I had no idea what. It was no notebook or writing implement, though, that's for sure.
机の中からなんでブニュブニュしたものが
Why would anybody have something like this in their desk? Maybe it had been on the floor all along.
なんだろうこれ
I rubbed my sticky fingertips a bit deeper into the wet spot, then brought my hand up close to my face so I could get a better look at what was there. Blood. What on earth did I just touch? There was a flash of lightning, almost immediately joined by a roaring thunderclap. And with it, for a split second, the pitch-black classroom was lit up bright as day. Oh, wow! Damn, the whole school. Or the whole classroom. I shot to my feet, utterly mortified. In that split second, I'd gotten a very good look at my fingers, and it really did seem as if they were covered in blood. But it wasn't just my hand. No, if my peripheral vision was to be trusted, it looked like the entire classroom was stained a deep, dark crimson.
そういえば、なんとなく生臭い気がする。
Without thinking, I backed away from where I'd been crouching. I tried rationalizing what I saw. How could a whole classroom become a bloodbath like this? Did something spill? Did someone stumble in here injured?
ありえない。そんな、何よこれ!
My whole body was quaking. I fled from the classroom. Or rather, I tried to flee. Oh no, oh no.
開かない！やだ！やだやだ！
I wonder if this would have happened if I had left right away, if I would have still been trapped in here.
鍵なんてかかってなかったのに。今だって鍵はかかってないよ。それなのに。どうして？
I don't remember locking it, and it isn't locked, so why can't I get it open? I pulled on the door handle again and again in a frenzy. I was pulling so hard it felt like my fingernails might tear loose. But it just wouldn't budge.
なんで？なんでよ！なんでよ！
I was absent-mindedly grabbing at my hair with one hand and slammed my fist on a nearby desk with the other. This was a nightmare.
何これ！
Silence saturated the inky blackness of the room. I took several deep breaths in an effort to restrain my pounding heart.
とにかく一度落ち着かないと。そもそもドアが開かないのだって私がこんなにパニックになってるせいかもしれないし。
Calm down. I have to calm down. I'm probably just panicking because the door won't open.
さっきの変な塊だってきっと何かの勘違いだよ。だってありえないじゃない。教室にあんなわけのわからないものが落ちてるだなんて。
I'm sure I just misidentified whatever that was on the ground. I mean, it's preposterous, right? There's no way something like that could be. I was certain that what I saw was actually what... I was certain that when I saw what it actually was come morning, it would end up being something totally random, like someone's old soda-stained gym clothes.
きっとそうだよ。そうだ。指についたのだって美術に使う絵の具かもしれないじゃない。
That has to be it. Yeah, I probably just brushed against someone's paint for art class or something. My imagination was just running wild because I was panicking.
もしかしたらドアに何かが挟まってて開かないだけかもしれない。
And the door probably just has something caught in it, that's all. I decided to check out that hypothesis by feeling my way across the door and determining if anything was jutting out from any of the
ダ
cracks.
メだ。真っ暗で何にも見えない。
Do you not have your cell phone on you? Could you use your cell phone to, like, light up the area a little bit? I fumbled around the gaps in the door, but I just couldn't make anything out that would be doing this, and the classroom's rear exit seemed a world away.
他の出口は。
No, this was the third floor. I couldn't get out of this classroom without exiting into the hallway.
今すぐ外に出たいのに。
Let me out. I want out. Still at a loss, I noticed a sudden flash of light through the hallway window. But the glass was only translucent, so I couldn't be sure of its
誰
source.
か歩いてくる。
Then there came the distinctive clomp, clomp, clomp of footsteps.
そうだ。きっと用務員さんだ。
I recalled the existence of a custodian who always patrolled the school grounds. I was sure he must have been taking a look around after the sudden power outage.
助かった。
All at once, my fear-addled legs regained their strength. This nightmare would soon be over.
すみません！
I shouted to the custodian through the window as loudly as I could muster, and then just flash, and there'll be Ghostface in the door.
すみません！閉じ込められてるんです！
I had to be sure he heard me. I shouted again. Finally, I could see the light out in the hallway again, and it seemed to be getting closer. However, here we go.
なんかこの光おかしい気がする。
Something's not right about this. Perturbed, I took a step away from the window.
懐中電灯だったらもっと明るいよね。 この光はなんだか
That's a flashlight. Shouldn't it be brighter? It kind of looks like the faint, unearthly glow classically attributed to spirits, was what I was thinking. I tried to stop myself from finishing that thought, however. Dullness aside, it also looked like it was wriggling around in a very unnatural, very unflashlight-like way.
それにこの足音
And these footsteps. Clomp, clomp, clomp. 4 clomps in a 3 or so second interval. Then another 4 clomps. They were sounding in a fixed rhythm.
用務員さんじゃない明らかに変な歩き方
That's no custodian. Nobody walks like that. The fear was back in full force. I had to find somewhere to hide. What if I'd accidentally summoned something inhuman? I mean, whatever that was, I begged it for help. I literally invited it in.
どこか隠れるところ
Oh,
そうだ
am I gonna have to make another choice here? I need to hide, but where? Oh, okay. Okay, once again, we're gonna go, we'll save, and I'm gonna go with the bad thought, because if this is the teacher, they probably would go right for the podium. So we'll go to the teacher's podium and see if that gets me a bad end. I hurriedly hid myself beneath the teacher's podium. I grabbed my knees, curled up, and made myself as small as I could.
何なの一体どうなってるの
What is this? What's happening? I think this would be the time to maybe call your mom or the police and have someone come get you. The footsteps continued to draw nearer and nearer. Clomp, 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 clomp. Little by little, the sound grew louder. Every hair on my body was standing on end.
このまま通り過ぎてくださいお願いします
Please just pass by, please. I held my breath, clasped my hands together, and silently prayed. Clomp, 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 clomp. They were close now. Very, very close.
神様
Please, God. Why was this happening? I couldn't make any sense of it. I just wanted it to be over. I prayed to God that it would end. Was this what that old woman was trying to warn me about? Was this all happening because I ignored her? Because I didn't take the paper doll from her? Is it because I'd heard the ghost story of Yoshi and allowed it to get to me? Or did the strange events of the day have nothing to do with what was happening to me now?
口から心臓が飛び出しちゃいそうだよ
Feels like my heart is going to burst out of my chest. I was still holding my breath. I didn't dare let even the tiniest of sounds escape and give away my position. Tap, 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 tap. I'm waiting for the jump scare. I'm waiting for something to just go bleh against the door. Tap, tap. It stopped outside. The consistent rhythm of the footsteps suddenly ended halfway into one of its cycles. And it had ended right in front of this very classroom. There it is. I had goosebumps up and down my arms and legs. I stopped praying and clasped my hands over my mouth. I knew I'd scream if I didn't. Could this be Yoshi? Was the school legend real? All I could do was close my eyes, keep my mouth shut, and just hope whoever or whatever this was would just go away. But the footstep sounds didn't start again. If this was indeed Yoshi, then she'd just stopped in front of the classroom and was just standing there. I had no concept of time anymore. I stayed in my hiding spot for what was probably only a few minutes, but felt like at least an hour.
足音が消えた
Maybe whoever it was is gone. I decided to carefully peek out from under the podium. I gingerly edged my head out just far enough to get a glimpse of the room when suddenly... Bleh! Or not. Ah! The footsteps rang out once more. It sounded like they were heading right for me, and they might have been inside the room. I honestly couldn't tell. Oh, that's freaking me out how just like fast it's like the ghost is running at me. I scrambled back into my hiding spot and covered my mouth with both hands. This was too much for me. My breathing was coarse and erratic, and my face was a mess of tears and snot.
神様助けて
God, please save me. I was inconsolable. The footsteps just wouldn't stop. What on earth were they doing? Doing some tap dancing on the on one of the desks. It almost seemed like they were running around in circles just to scare me.
やめて
I admit it is pretty unnerving in my ears Stop it, please stop it. I mouthed these words over and over again and moved my hands to my ears in a vain attempt to block out this torturous sound. Unfortunately, I can't do that, and as if in response, the sound changed. It was a loud, dull thud, followed by silence. No more footsteps. I'd heard the class hundreds of times before. It was the classroom door sliding open. I peeked out, but the door was still tightly shut. How could that be? If the sound I heard wasn't the door, then what was it? Wait, was that the other place where she could have hid? Does that mean I actually maybe chose the right spot accidentally? What little safety I'd felt here was pretty much gone, but to be fair, I wasn't absolutely certain the spirit had seen or heard me either. The prospect of stepping out into the open wasn't a desirable one, but I had to decide if it was better to stay where I was or to make a break for it. Oh, another choice? Oh, alright, let's make a break for it. Let's go. Staying in one place for too long seemed like it would be inviting trouble, so I took a deep breath and reluctantly crawled out as quietly as I could. But almost immediately I felt something. Oh, here we go. Bad end. Bad end. Tap. Something long and thin had struck me in the back of the head. Or perhaps struck isn't the right word. There was a little force behind it, but it wasn't a hard slam, more like someone trying to get my attention. Oh, is Yoshi gonna think that she's like one of her students? Is that a wooden rod? Or no, it's a finger. I knew I wouldn't like what I was going to see, but I had to face whatever this was, so I turned around. And there, looming over me, was... A figure was peering down at me from above the podium with one emaciated wishbone-like finger extended towards my face. I recognized this person instantly. No doubt about it. This was the strange old woman who'd supposedly passed away earlier. Oh, I wasn't expecting the old woman. Oh shit, wait. Wait, the old woman is Yoshi? What? Is that what it is? Or is that's the old woman's spirit after she died? She came here to try and warn Yui to, like, go home? I was scared out of my mind. I tumbled the rest of the way out from under the podium and shot to my feet. I wonder why this old woman is so hell-bent on trying to save Yui if they'd never met before. A ghost. There really was a ghost in this school. My breathing was ragged and my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. Plowing through all the desks in my way, I ran as fast as I could towards the classroom door. But that was as far as I could go. Definitely doesn't sound like the old woman. It sounds like someone a little bit younger. But then again, the old woman was pretty ragged when she talked to me. There, on the other side of the door, tied up against the glass, was the old woman. She was glowing bluish white, the source of the light from earlier. But how in the world did she get to the door before I did? How did she get out of the room so quickly and position herself so perfectly to block my exit? I felt like I was starting to hyperventilate and tried as best as I could to calm my breathing as my eyes darted about the room. I needed to get out of here now, to get as far away from this place as I possibly could. The front door is blocked. Maybe I can get out through the back. But if I do that, I can't leave the school without running right past her. Oh, another choice? There's no way she'd let me by, but I have to do something. I bit my lip and continued scanning the room. Oh, I'm gonna have to make a choice to either fight the ghost or run away. Something. If I just had something I could use to fight back, like maybe the pencil? I didn't have time to think carefully about it. I just had to grab something and hope for the best. There were two choices, and I had to pick one on impulse before it was too late. Oh, geez, bag of salt. Bag of salt? Salt? Because salt can, well, I mean, if it's blessed anyway, it can get rid of spirits, right? Like, you use salt in, like, summoning circles and other things. I have no idea. I just know that salt is used sometimes to, like, purify things, so... I thought I was trying to get the bad end, and now it seems like I'm trying to go back over and get the good end. This looks like leftover salt from an old chemistry experiment, because if it's a ghost, you're not going to be able to hit it with a broom. I'd heard that salt was used in purification rituals, so it seemed like a natural choice. Well, I acted on instinct, and my instinct was to do the right thing, I guess.
よし、これを持っていこう。
Okay, this is coming with me. I placed the salt in my pocket as a sort of protective charm.
怖いけど、行くしかない。
I'm scared, but, well, here goes nothing. It just seems weird that just salt would happen to be there. A broom I can understand, but just salt on somebody's desk? When I looked over, the spirit of the old woman was holding out her hand from the other side of the door frame. She really was trying to catch me. I wasn't just being paranoid. She was going to kill me and turn me into a ghost like her. Or maybe she's trying to warn you. She could be pissed that you didn't listen to her, but maybe she's just trying to help. I was convinced. This had to be Yoshi, the teacher from that urban legend.
やだ、そんなの。
Bracing myself, I darted toward the room at the back end of the classroom. There wasn't a moment to lose. If I didn't act fast, I probably wouldn't be able to act at all. I threw the door open and just began running at top speed, hoping to escape behind the spirit's back. Unsurprisingly, trying to outrun a ghost proved to be a fruitless endeavor. The spirit saw me and moved at a breakneck speed to intercept. I thrust my hand into my pocket and withdrew the bag of salt, then threw the entire thing directly at the old woman's face. There we go, that was the right choice. I ran down the hall as fast as my legs would carry me, briefly glancing over my shoulder after a moment to confirm the spirit was still writhing. I just kept on running down that dark hallway, with nothing but adrenaline and mortal fear to keep me going. Then she's like, God damn it, I forgot the pen case again! I reached the stairwell at the end of the hall and made a mad dash towards ground level. I was determined to get out of this building alive. Now here's what I'm worried about, is if I make the wrong choice, maybe the whole thing is maybe I will break my neck and end up like the ghost. Finally, still moving at top speed, I reached the window door leading outside. And it's gonna be locked, isn't it? Almost there. I'm almost out, just like at Heavenly Host when all the doors are closed. Luckily, the malevolent spirit hadn't caught up to me yet. It actually seemed like I might be able to escape. I might actually survive this. I grabbed the handle and tried pulling it. Of course. The thing is, we know Yui survives, so unless I fucked up, like, she should be able to get out of here. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna make another choice. I have to think of something else. At this rate, that horrible woman's going to... No, I can't let that happen. But what do I do? What can I do? Run somewhere else. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna let the time run out and see what happens. That'll probably be an automatic bad end right there if I don't make a choice at all. There we go. Oh, here we go. What do I do now? What do I do? Ah. I'd basically lost all ability to think. This was a matter of life and death, but my mind seemed to have already given up and given in. I knew I had to move fast to survive, but whatever options I may have had a moment ago seemed to float off into the ether, leaving me dumbfounded. The way out was right in front of me, but I was powerless to take it. I raised my head to see if the ghost had caught up to me yet, and I quickly found out that she had. Here we go. I had the sudden sensation of someone seizing me by the throat, accompanied by an unpleasant crunching sound. God, she really did have me by the throat. Couldn't breathe. For as old and frail as she looked, she was uncommonly strong. All because you wanted a damn pencil. She was actually gripping me so tightly that she'd managed to raise me by the ground, raise me off the ground by my neck. I could see her slender, bony hand into the periphery of my vision and feel it cutting into my trachea. Was that hand really holding me in the air against my will, kicking and flailing by just the tissue and bones of my neck? I couldn't struggle anymore. I was like a puppet on a string. Well, I mean, at least it was quick. Just broke her neck, done and done. With a sudden crack, my field of vision shifted 90 degrees and everything turned blood red. And right? Because she fell down the stairs and did she, like, break her neck or something? And now my neck is broken too.
あらあら
Yep.
私と同じねどこか隠れるところ
Oh wow. I thought I had saved after this, but I guess I didn't. Okay. Well, let's try different things then. Let's try the supply locker and see what happens here. Maybe we'll try and get all the bad ends. I hurriedly squeezed myself into the metal locker where the classroom's cleaning supplies were kept. It was still pitch black in the room, so I really couldn't spare the time it would take to remove its contents. Instead, I just contorted myself to fit. The locker was thick with the smells of mold and varnish.
ここで息を潜めていれば
Will I just pass out from the smell? Or just not be able to, like, hold my breath and make a sound she's gonna find me? If I can hold my breath for just a little while, I think I'll be safe in here. So I waited. I waited for the footsteps to pass by and fade into the distance, signaling it was safe to emerge.
ずっとこんなところにいたらむせちゃいそうだよ
Whoever it is had better hurry. I feel like I'm going to suffocate if I'm here much longer. Still, it felt a lot safer in the locker than it did out in the room. But the footsteps weren't receding. They were just getting louder, closer, faster. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. Rat-tat-tat. And then they came to a sudden halt. They were close, just outside the locker. Oh, I peered through the ventilation holes. Amidst the utter darkness of the classroom, there wasn't a soul to be
大
seen.
丈夫ここにいれば大丈夫
Okay, as long as I stay in here, I'll be fine. I'm not sure why I believed that. Maybe because I needed to. Maybe because it was so dark, or because I felt so much calmer in such a tight space where nothing could possibly sneak up behind me. I didn't know why, and I didn't care. I just knew that as far as I was concerned, I was safe in here. So I stood motionless and cramped, and I waited. I didn't have to wait long.
今なんか音がした鍵がかかったような
What was that? It sounded like a door locking. Suddenly apprehensive, I gently nudged the supply closet door just to make sure it would still open for me when I wanted it to. Oh shit! Oh shit, she locked me in here! Oh no!
み
Oh, so it's funny. Me going to the teacher's podium thinking that was going to be the bad choice ended up being the good choice. I accidentally picked the good choice. I let out a sudden yelp at this unknown voice and tried with all my might to push open the door, blocking my escape.
開けて開けてばまだ残ってるの居残りしてた罰よ
There was a brief moment of silence following the eerie voice's unsettling proclamation. And then, crash, crunch, the metal walls around me on all four sides began warping inward as if the supply locker had somehow been fed into a trash compactor. There was no force I can imagine that should have been able to do this, but it was happening. Its already confined space was steadily closing in on me. Crash, crunch, the collapse of the locker all around me continued slowly and steadily. I could feel all manner of things pushing and cutting into my body. My vision went bright red. One of the blood vessels in my eyes probably burst from the pressure. I wasn't going to last much longer. The ventilation holes in the locker door were now pressed right up against my face, and through them I could just barely make out the figure of a person. It was the old woman from this morning. She was standing right outside the slats, staring right into my eyes. It was the last sight I would ever see as the locker finally, inevitably, smashed into my skull. Crash, crunch, crack, splat. Well, that one was a little worse. That one, she kind of suffered for a little while, so just like, boom, neck snap, dead. Alright, so here we have another option. So let's see what happens if I stay hidden. There's actually surprisingly a lot of choices in this chapter.
待ってよ
But it only took a moment for that decision to come back and bite me immediately bad. My body was suddenly weighed down in an instant without knowing what was happening. My fetally positioned form was essentially locked in place. It was like a boulder had fallen on top of me and was resting on my arched back. I twisted and shuffled myself around, trying to shake it off, but the more I struggled, the heavier it became. And what's more, it felt like it was slowly inching its way up toward my head, as if it were planning on dropping down in front of my face. Was this a person? It was a female voice reverberating ominously as if it were bubbling up from the depths of hell. I squirmed violently, desperate to throw her off me. My vision went red, or at least it felt that way. Whoever was on my back had dug her razor-sharp fingernails right into my eyes! Ah, worst one yet. Worst one right. I hate eye stuff. I hate eye stuff. I collapsed on the spot. The pain was instantaneous and unbearable. I could no longer hold my position. I could no longer focus on anything but this agony. The pain shot through my head in waves. It was indescribable, unthinkable. I couldn't take it any longer. My consciousness faded, and I was gone. I would never know exactly what happened to me, but maybe I was better off that way. This is the sad thing about the Corpse Party games, is, like, all these horrible ends are just, like, innocent kids. Like, they're just kids. And they didn't really do anything wrong except, you know, do a stupid little charm, and they're being punished horribly for it. Okay, let's run somewhere else. I have no choice. I have to keep running. I have to find someplace else. Or maybe I could hide somewhere and throw Yoshi off my trail. Because, you know, hiding worked so well for me before. I had no particular destination in mind. My only thought was anywhere but here. After maybe 30 seconds, I found myself in the second floor hallway. I feel like I made the wrong choice. I'm like running away from, you know, for not safety, but like freedom. Like I was right at the front and then I just ran away. I went back up. That's like the thing they tell you in horror like movies and stuff is like don't run upstairs because then you're just getting yourself trapped. There was an outside corridor connecting the two buildings of the school there, and it was the first alternate escape route that came to mind. Yeah, there could be another exit, hopefully. Naturally, it was walled off on the outside for safety purposes, but the wall wasn't so big I couldn't scale it in a pinch. I didn't really want to jump from the second floor of the school, but if I had to, I was confident I'd at least survive the fall with minimal injury. Okay, maybe this is the right choice. I should consider that a last resort. For now, let's just get out of sight. I climbed the wall faster than I thought possible and dropped down to the narrow ledge on the other side. It was just wide enough to sit down. My back was to the hallway, but my location should have been completely hidden from anyone inside the school. I looked down at the muddy ground below me. I really couldn't see much, though. The outside was completely dark. It was so dark it felt almost like the whole world had been draped in a black veil. I opened the pen case in my pocket and pulled out the pencil I received from Tsukasa. Oh, maybe she'll stab the ghost with it. Maybe. Tsukasa, please protect me. Was I really treating this stubby little pencil as a protective charm? Tsukasa said it would guarantee success on my test, not ward off evil spirits. Still, it was better than nothing. I clutched it tightly in my hands and prayed. I whispered the words so quietly that I might as well have been mouthing them, but that seemed to be all the opening that damn spirit needed. Uh-oh. Oh no. I sensed a presence on the ledge with me, and was so startled I almost fell from my perch. However, I could only sense her there. I didn't actually see her, and thought for one brief moment that maybe I was letting my imagination run wild. But then I felt the horrible sensation of something coiling itself around my arm. Oh no, ooh, creepy, ooh. Before I knew it, a tall, shadowy figure had half emerged from the wall behind me, and she had me in her grasp. Damn, here I was thinking I had made the right choice for once. There wasn't much more to her than an indistinct, flickering silhouette, but I could clearly see she had a broken neck. Was this a different apparition? Maybe the pencil will still, maybe it is a protective charm, since I didn't take the charm from the old lady before. Her scraggly, root-like fingers were squeezing my arm with tremendous force, pushing aside muscle and tissue and pressing right on the bone. I was shaking hysterically and my tears were streaming down my face. I was absolutely convinced I was going to die here. Oh, Sachi. I could offer no resistance. She was too strong. All I could do was plead with her. It felt like my arm would snap in two at any moment. She wasn't just grabbing, but twisting as well. Wait, hold on. Did I just remember that is Yoshi Sachi's mom, right? Yes. She fell down the stairs and then Sachiko saw it. Oh my, I am a dummy, right? That's what happened. That's the whole thing about, yeah, the teacher, and that's why she said, like, Sachi will be together forever. Wow, I'm so dumb. I can't, like, I'll feel dumber if I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that that's Sachiko's mom because she worked at the school, didn't she? The pain was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. I couldn't think about anything else. Stopping it had become my first and only priority. Because, yeah, it was interesting, the whole thing about, like, what this random woman, the bent neck woman, has to do with the Sachiko situation, but I'm like, okay, yeah, it connects. It connects. I struggled violently against the spirit's grip, ultimately breaking free by throwing my body off the wall towards the unseen earth below. In the face of death, everything really does seem to slow down. I'd read somewhere that this is because the brain is sending out all kinds of distress signals or something. Slow motion or not, though, I was fully aware of my surroundings. I was cascading through the air just outside my school building. Oh, damn, well, she's only jumping from the second floor, like, unless she lands on her neck or something. Lands on her neck and breaks her neck, too. Oh! Oh, I have another choice. Reach out hands or prey upon the I feel like if I preyed upon the pencil, she, like, if she holds out the pencil and then it's just gonna, like, stab her. She's gonna stab herself as she hits the ground. Let's prey upon the pencil and hope for the best. If this is a dream, please let me wake up from it right now. Those were the words echoing through my head as I clutched Tsukasa's pencil tight against my bosom like a prayer talisman. Yeah, well, I mean, literally, should have expected that. Moments later, I crashed into the ground, and a horrible squelching sound echoed in my ears. My neck was... Well, I called it. I mean, shit, if I had reached out my hands, I would have probably broken the wrist, but better than that. Damn, I should have saved beforehand. Crap. This may have been the right thing. This may have been the right overall choice, but I just made the last-minute wrong choice. Tsukasa's pencil had pierced deep into my throat. Now I'm gonna have to do it all over again. Some lucky pencil this turned out to be. Blood was spurting everywhere. I was practically drowning in it. I'd landed right on it, and it wasn't long before I gasped my final gasp. This is gonna be the most bad ends I've ever gotten in a single episode. I've avoided the wrong ends for the most part, so you guys are gonna get, like, you want to see the wrong ends, you're gonna get them this episode. I don't think I'm gonna get every wrong episode, or every wrong end in this chapter, but I'm getting a lot of them. Okay, so now I gotta go all the way back. I gotta do all that again and then change my choice. Alright, let's reach out hands. Probably not much will change, but maybe. I was pretty sure this fall would kill me. With a controlled jump, I might have been able to survive, but I was tumbling like a rag doll. I was a goner. I couldn't even remember what you were supposed to do in a situation like this. Try to flip over? Brace for impact? In one last-ditch attempt at survival, I stretched out both my arms. Well, that's a good way of just shattering your arms. Maybe somebody would be waiting there to grab me. Maybe somebody would save me. And somebody actually did. I honestly wasn't expecting that. I really thought there was no hope, but then at the last second I was yanked to safety. Probably by Yoshi. What? What? Whoa. What? 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 Tsukasa? Oh my gosh, it actually worked. What? What?
大丈夫かつかめ俺の腕
What the hell is he doing here? Wow. I held out into his arms with all my might, and against seemingly impossible odds, I was pulled in. My life was saved. Holy shit! This was like a scene out of some anime. It shouldn't have happened. It was too convenient, but I wasn't about to complain. What? Did, like, he follow me?
よく頑張ったな
Did he follow me back to the school? Like, was he stalking me? Was he just... Like, what's he doing here? How did he know I was here? I need answers.
今はしのごの言ってる場合じゃない逃げるぞ
And he seems like way too relaxed about the fact that there's a ghost here. After like not believing in that stuff. Tsukasa was still holding on to me tightly after coming to my rescue. He took off down the hall, back into the heart of the school with me in tow.
そうなんだよさっきのは俺は夢でも見てるのか
Did he like go back to the school just to prove that, you know, the legend wasn't real? He practically spit these words out as he continued running.
どうしてここに司くんが
Right? I tried to match his gait, and once we were a bit more in sync, I looked up at his face. He was fast. After we'd reached the end of the hall, he suddenly veered into the last classroom before the stairwell, pulling me in with him.
シシドお前怪我はないか
大丈夫私はもう一人で歩けるから
ああ悪い
I moved away from Tsukasa and almost immediately slipped onto the ground like a house of cards.
おい大丈夫じゃないじゃん
そうだけどでもすぐに
無理すんなよ
Tsukasa grabbed my arm to help me up. Unfortunately, it was the arm Yoshi had been twisting.
悪いやっぱり腕怪我してるのか
よくわかんないでもすっごく痛いよ焼けるみたい
I draped my other hand over the sore spot, where I assumed there was probably one hell of a bruise. I started rubbing gently, but it didn't help at all.
そうかじゃあ保健室ですぐに手当てした方がいいな
でもそしたらまた
あいつが来るって
Just thinking about going back out there and facing Yoshi made me shudder. I couldn't believe he was even entertaining the idea.
心配すんなもし仮にあいつが来ても俺が絶対お前を守ってやるからな
司くん
Tsukas's gentle reassurance actually made me forget the pain in my arm for a moment. I had to stop myself from blushing, or tried to at any rate. Okay, I can see why she fell in love with him.
怪我は一刻も早く手当てした方がいいってまあどうせ先生なんかいないだろうけど応急手当てくらいなら俺にだってできるよし行くぞ
Tsukasa offered me his hand, and I graciously took it, squeezing it tightly as he led me back out into the hallway.
司くんの手あったかい
Despite the fact that nothing had really changed, I was still in just as much danger as I had been. The paralyzing fear I'd been feeling was gone. If it were just me, I would have never been able to do this. I would have frozen up. But with Tsukasa leading the way, I felt like I could do anything.
シシド少し走るけど大丈夫か
With my blessing, Tsukasa upped his pace
もう
significantly.
あいつが出てきませんように
Please don't let her show up. I prayed silently for smooth sailing as I followed Tsukasa's lead.
このまま司くんと一緒にいられれば安心
As long as he's with me, I think I'll be okay. I gently squeezed his hand again, as if to reassure myself that he was still with me. I was starting to think maybe Yoshi was gone, maybe we thwarted her, but of course, just as I was thinking that, she made her presence known again.
なんだってんだ。出てこい。
No, don't show yourself. I was gonna say, did she use up all of the salt? She should have kept some of the salt and just keep throwing that at her as she gets closer. An unearthly voice reverberated through the dark corridor. I immediately drew myself into Tsukasa's back.
もっと連れてこい。
Over Tsukasa's shoulder, I saw the same shadow-like spirit from before. It must have been waiting here to ambush us. Yeah, wasn't Yoshi the one who wanted... That's what... Yeah, Sachiko is bringing kids to the school for her mom, right? That's the whole reason that she is doing all this.
大丈夫。落ち着け。
The ghost was moaning and wavering before us. We'd never be able to get past it.
私のために何でもしてくれる。
おい、獅子堂。俺があいつを引きつけるから、その隙に走って逃げろ。
Oh no. Maybe, yeah, like my guess was that something happened to Tsukasa and Miss Yui never saw him again, and that's why she still thinks about him, so maybe this is what happened. Maybe he died to the spirit and she feels guilty for it.
やだよ、一緒に逃げて。
俺には秘密兵器があるのさ。俺のばあさんからもらった鏡のお守り。さっきあいつにこれを向けたら少し割り上がった。
See, you, if you had taken that charm, you would have been in a lot better position, or if you just listened and not come back to the school.
形見のお守り？
あ
でも、司くんやっぱり危険。
俺？まあ、なんとかなるだろう。
そんな。
待ちなさい。
We really didn't have time to be arguing. It was closing in fast. And as it did, I noticed the spirit's figure had become more defined. She was a tall young woman with her head turned sideways at a 90-degree angle. The tale of Yoshi suggests she fell down a flight of stairs, so a broken neck would certainly fit. Yeah, it wasn't that Yoshi fell. She got pushed by... I think, wasn't she being abused and harassed by, was it the principal? And then she was running away, and he pushed her down the stairs and killed her, so it kept him silent. And then he killed himself later by jumping off the top of the roof of the school. It's starting to come back to me a little bit now. He gave my back a shove to get me started, and with no time to object, I unconsciously obliged. Tsukasa ran too, darting ahead of me for a few short moments.
Oi, bakemono! こっちだ!
待ちなさい。
Tsukasa ran as close as he possibly could to get Yoshi's attention, then turned tail and began sprinting off in the opposite direction.
こっちだぞ! バケモノ!
Amazingly, it worked. The spirit began chasing Tsukasa, leaving me completely unobstructed.
どうしよう。私、
Oh,
このまま一人逃
am I
げて
gonna
も
have
いい
another
の？
choice here? This doesn't feel right. Should I really escape without him? I was torn. On the one hand, I knew this was my best chance, but I couldn't help worrying about what would happen to Tsukasa if his charm failed. I stopped for a moment and glanced over my shoulder. He was still running, and the shadowy figure was still in hot pursuit.
いいから、行けって! お前が逃げ切ったのを確認したら、俺も逃げるからさ!
Famous last words. We're never gonna see him again. I still can't believe I fell for it, but this was right about when I realized the truth. Tsukasa had no protective charm. He just made that up so I wouldn't object too strongly to him serving as a decoy while I got away. Oh, that's so tragic. Oh my gosh, he died to protect her.
やっぱりダメ。
No, I can't let him go through with this. I stopped in my tracks and shouted out at the top of my lungs. Oh no, girl, what are you doing?
よしえ先生。
I wasn't sure exactly what I was getting myself into, but I had to do something, and calling the spirit's name definitely seemed to have an effect.
あなたの名前知ってるわよ。
おい、獅子堂!
All at once, the black figure was facing me. Though I never saw her turn around, she was flying toward me now, ignoring Tsukasa. I'm not scared, I'm not scared, I'm not scared. I repeated this like a mantra and stuck one hand in my pocket, grasping tightly onto the one and only item I'd stashed there. Well, if it's the pencil, it didn't do so well for you last time.
お前は私を知っているのか。私には本当にお守りがある。
Unlike him, I have a real protective charm. Tsukasa's care, his effort, his beliefs, they were all packed into this pencil. And when you get right down to it, that's what a charm is, right? So this is very, like, a sweet moment, but, like, after getting that wrong end where she impaled herself with the charm, it kind of loses a little bit of his gravitas a little bit. I squeezed the nubby little thing into my pocket, mentally preparing myself for the confrontation ahead. The confrontation I'd impulsively initiated.
シスター逃げろ
逃げない。私は逃げないわ。神様、どうかお願い。助けて。
God, please protect me. I closed my eyes, lifted my hand from my pocket, and brandished Tsukasa's pencil intently. The gauntlet had been thrown. I was putting a lot of faith into this, and I really, really hoped I hadn't made a mistake in doing so.
私は獅子のゆい。この学校で先生を目指しているわ。
I opened my eyes to find the shadowy spirit, Yoshi, had stopped dead in her tracks. Did it work? Was Tsukasa's pencil keeping this vengeful soul at bay?
私の代わりは
Oh no.
いらない。死ね。
Suddenly, I was whisked off my feet and slammed against the ceiling.
シシだ
I could see him down below. He was staring up at me and desperately leaping. He was trying to catch me, I suppose, even though he knew he'd never reach. I called out to him over and over again in my mind. If he could get away, if he could survive this ordeal, then it would all have been worth it. Yoshi was drawing near, and I was helplessly pinned to the ceiling. I had no chance at all. There was no doubt in my mind that my life was over. I clung to the relief I felt that Tsukasa's safety was the only thing keeping me from losing my head entirely. Then, all at once, the situation took a complete 180. It was like a miracle. Ah! Okay, I was confused. I thought the old woman was Yoshi, but I guess that doesn't make sense, because why would Yoshi be old and coming to protect me from herself? Yeah, so who is this old woman? Before I had any idea what was happening, I found myself bathed in a gentle light.
おばあちゃん。
Who is she?
せめてこれ以上邪術が拡大せぬこと。
No, the old woman never wanted to do me any harm, like when... Cause yeah, like it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, why would the old lady be like, I'm trying to protect you, but also like, I'm gonna kill you? It's like, derp. It was the old woman who had collapsed in front of my house. She was standing down below me, enveloped in a warm glow. The black shadow lunged toward her. Then there was a horrific noise, and the old woman was gone.
シスター
And just like that, I fell to the ground. Whatever Yoshi had done to me, the old woman must have nullified it. That must have been why she came to me this morning, and why she'd come again now. I felt like I was going to faint. Tsukasa ran to my side and gently scooped me off the ground into his arms. Yoshi's spirit was gone. She'd vanished along with the light. Around us now, the only sound was the pitter-patter of raindrops on the school roof.
おいシスターシスター
I'd suffered quite a bump on the head from my fall and was decidedly disoriented, but I still had enough sense to put my arm around Tsukasa's neck.
バカ逃げろって言ったのに
I can't believe he survived. I thought for sure he was a goner.
ごめん。でも。
I wanted to protect you. I couldn't bear the thought of losing you, is what I wanted to say. But instead, I just passed out in his arms. Alright, so that will do it for episode 6. So, you know, Miss Yui's chapter starting off a little bit slow, but my goodness, did it ever ramp up. And I hope you guys enjoyed all the bad ends in this episode. Had to kick it up a notch, right? And interesting about that connection between Yue and Yoshi and Sachiko and Heavenly Host. And then there's the whole thing about, like, who is this old woman? Why does she want to protect Miss Yue so badly? What's the connection there? And I'm happy that Tsukasa actually seemed to... I mean, we can't say for sure he's gonna make it out alive. It's still going, but for now, everybody seems to be safe. I thought he was a goner for sure. So I'm happy that he is still around, and don't know how much of this chapter is left, but I don't know if, you know, we're going to be getting any more ghosts in this chapter, or, like, we're going to find out what happened to Tsukasa and why Miss Yui kind of still pines for him a little bit. So maybe all questions to be answered in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, bye. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Nana, Sparky, Dumbass Loser, Tequila Mockingbird, Puncake G, Derek Nickel, Harry Gazif, Asborn Kennedy, and Icognito.